Good evening, everyone. And this is Dr. Beverly Roseberry. Continuing our Is the Confidence in Me, Is the Confidence for Me series. This is part two of the series. We had a good discussion yesterday, or people in the chat looking at what does confidence mean? How do we have confidence in ourselves? And our first part of the series talked about who are you? This is the second part of the series. It will be posted on, you'll be able to find this video on our website at healinginhiswings.com. And it will also be found on Facebook under Beverly Roseberry. And it will also be found on LinkedIn if you are a part of that platform. So you have those three places that you can find. And then I'll post also, I'm recording this link, so you'll be able to utilize that, all one of those avenues to be able to watch the broadcast. We looked at beauty, we looked at who we are, with an understanding that we need to figure out who we are, not who the world says we are, not who advertisers say we are, and maybe not even through what friends and family may have said, because sometimes there's a distortion that could occur in our relations that could give us an idea that we don't that we should not have confidence in who we are. And as a reminder, we also talked about who we are is more than just our physical self, our physical attributes, and our physical bodies, but it's also the different hats that we wear, mother, father, sister, brother. It's also the things that I value, the morals that are important to me. It's also about security, finances, all those things that make up who I am. Am I a person who loves affection, or am I a person who could take it or leave it? Am I a person who is more concerned with security? Am I a person who, when we look at emotional well-being and support from a companion, is it that trust is important to me? I For me myself, love is important. It's important to everybody. We all want to be loved, but many times if we don't have confidence in who we are, then we don't believe that we should be loved. And because maybe some of our relationships, we did not feel love, then we carry around this thing where we don't talk about it a lot, but we begin to feel like we're not really loved. Childhood experiences, people sometimes say, well, that happened when I was a child, it was not a big deal. But in my journey as an advanced practice nurse, a women's health nurse practitioner who took histories and really talked to people about what was going on with their mind, their body, and their spirit, looking at emotional health as well as physical health. As a woman who has taught students, who has did classes throughout the community, different types of classes, and learned a lot of different things as I taught those classes. I have found that, a lot of our challenges begin in what happened in our homes when we were children. Childhood experiences is where fear has the opportunity to first come into our lives. As babies, when we're born, we expect our parents are supposed to meet our needs. How do we express a need as a baby? It is through our cries, through our laughter. You know what I mean? So, the mother and or father has to figure out how to meet what need I need met, because the only way that I can communicate it is through crying. And if that need is not met consistently, then that child begins to have a distorted view of who they are, and they don't feel love. They may not be able to express it at that time, but that's where it can start. And so, as if you're a parent, it's important for you to recognize that a baby needs to be held, it needs to be loved. It doesn't have to be in your arms 24/7. You need to be able to learn how to distinguish what the need is. You know, as a new mom, when I had my child, uh, when I had my son, it was, I had to figure out whether he was needed his diaper changed, whether he was hungry, sleepy, or just wanted to play with me, wanted to be, have that, have me hold him, play with him, make him laugh or giggle, all of those things I had to figure out. And, many new moms get really frustrated, and it's a really hard time trying to navigate that. But, if you have support, you learn that this is what I have to do. But, it is more than just changing a diaper and feeding a baby. A baby needs to be loved, and love is holding me, playing with me, talking to me. All of those things are going to be important in the life of your child. And then, if that doesn't happen, that fear is again brought into existence. It's a fear that we're not loved, and or someone who is able to be loved, or that we deserve love. Um, and that can be frightening. And then, if our caretakers, that could be parents, grandparents, um, they hold up a mirror to my value as a person. And so, we look to them for approval, a sense of belonging. We look to them to be able to trust them. We look to them for our self-worth and our confidence in the beginning, right? And so, if it's loving, if it's caring, if it's nurturing, then and they seem to be interested, then we feel love. But if it's the opposite, we feel unloved. And so, when I look at love, when I talk to people, it again comes from family of origin. I remember talking with my husband, and my family, though not all of had not always been so demonstrative in affection and things like that, but it was always there. Everybody may not have been, but we were a hugging, loving, family, and we were demonstrative in our love. My husband said, well, growing up for them, it was, we know we love each other, we ain't got to be doing all that. And so then here we come in marriage with these two opposing views of what it's like to demonstrate love in a marriage or in a relationship. And the two are supposed to become one. And even though we were raised differently and had a different understanding, and what I like and desire because of how I was raised in this family versus how he was at opposition. And so we have to mail that. And so we know that sometimes people only saw anger, anxiety. They were only saw discontent. They only saw arguing, bickering, sometimes even physical fights. I remember talking to a friend as an adult, who never shared with me the trouble that was, how scary it was to live in her home, because there was drug use in the home, and how they had to do things differently, because, how she didn't want anybody to come home because she didn't want anyone to see what she was working with. And so all of this distortion of how God would have it to be is like being in the Matrix. I don't know if I haven't shared with you. Some of you know that the Matrix is my favorite movie, all three of them. Whenever I see it on, I'm going to watch it if I have the time. I have it here on video, and I could just watch it uninterrupted. But when I see it on TV, I want to watch it, because the Matrix, if you haven't watched it, is about the world living in an alternate reality, pretty much like what we went through with Trump, for me as president, right? It was like living in an alternate reality, because there were so many alternate facts about what was really going on. And so the people were living this life that was computer based, so to speak, or not the truth. They thought they were living in such a way, but they didn't know that they were actually in control, being controlled by this race of, what do you call it? Machines had taken over. robot, so to speak. And they were using the electricity from their body, but giving them this image in their mind that they were living life as normal, not knowing they were just a supply for these robots, right? And so there were people who, as we call it, woke now, who got out of the matrix. And once they got out, they met with this man named Neo, not Neo, Morpheus, and they had to take a choice. If they wanted to stay in the matrix, they took the red pill. If I got it backwards, y'all don't be mad at me. If they wanted to get out of the matrix, they would take the blue pill. If you took the blue pill, then you would see that the world didn't even look like what they were seeing every day. The world had been destroyed by some war, a war of the worlds. So everything that they thought was true was false. And so we have to learn how to let go of everything that we thought was true, but that is really false about who we are. We have to kind of, fight our way out, let go. It's like being stuck in tar and you trying to pull yourself out of the tar, but you stuck. Your body is coming up, but you got pieces of the tar coming up with you. So we have to let go of that anxiety, that fear, that developed because our needs were not met. We were not who our caretakers may not, they did the best that they could. They didn't know how to do any better. There may have been abuse, sexual, emotional, verbal, okay, physical abuse in the homes. Or we have, as a people, African Americans have, and in other cultures, we have colorism, right? There are people who have, when I've done some of my sessions in the community, who have talked about parents who had a problem because they were the darker child, or grandparents who may have had a problem because they were the darker child in the family. Their skin was a little bit darker complected than the others. There are people who have problems with a child because they feel like another child is smarter book-wise than this child. And so, they face a lot of negative situations or connotations because of what is perceived as their lack of educational ability. And so there's a shame that's attached to that. And so, that's like being in the matrix because it's nothing but a lie. And then once you have those experiences, then here is the battlefield of the mind where the enemy is repeating those lies to you. Every time you begin to even feel a little bit, some way, gather a little confidence, they're going to remind you of that childhood. Those voices will remind you of those childhood voices that said you were stupid, you were dumb, you're never going to amount to anything, you just like your daddy. All of those things that made you feel like you shouldn't be confident in who you are and that you are not worthy of love. So we have to recognize that what they are lies. So there's a couple of psychologists, they were married, Wilkie and Noreen who said shame is rooted in a deep-seated fear that we are flawed, inadequate, and unworthy of love. That's a lie, as my favorite friend is, from the pits of hell. We're all worthy to be loved. It may not have felt like it. It may not seem like it right now, but it is a lie if you think that you are not worthy to love for any reason. People who may have had sex, didn't use protection, or use protection, because condoms are not 100% trust. And you ended up with a sexually transmitted infection that you can't get rid of. That doesn't mean that you are not loving, worthy to be loved, and that nobody's gonna want you. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because there are people who are HIV positive where guys didn't care. They wanted to sleep with them. So, don't believe the lies that are being spoken to you by the enemy that says you're not worthy and you're no good and nobody's going to love you. And you're never going to be able to have a husband and you're never going to have children because you have herpes or you have HPV things that don't go away. And then don't let anybody judge you because you did, because people are quick to judge, but they don't tell that their past. We judge a woman who has, I'm getting off topic, but I'm here. We judge a woman who's had a baby outside of wedlock, okay? But we know our own sin that we don't want everybody to know is that we had a baby, we got pregnant too, but we had an abortion. So that judgment, needs to go. And we have to, it's our job to, if it's meditation, if it's prayer, but it is, speak back to those voices and call them the liar that they are. Speak back to those people and call them the liar that they are. And know that, as I said, why did this happen? Because our physical and emotional needs were not met consistently. We could talk about, I used to do this class called Parenting with Intimacy. I still do it. But when I was in the throes of doing that class, we had to talk to parents about and ask people, were your needs met consistently? And if they were not met, then you don't have the bandwidth to be able to meet them in other people. So sometimes we may be beating ourselves up, having all these lies and this distortions, in our psyche, and causing us to have a lack of confidence because we don't have a skill. We can't meet this need because we don't know how to meet it. It was never meant for us. So I don't have an example. So I don't know how to meet it. So, as an adult, if that is where you find yourself, that there are some things from your past, be it recent or from childhood, you really need to look at those and allow, because a lot of times we keep them hidden, we keep them pressed down. And then sometimes they're in our subconscious, affecting us every day, causing us not to be able to trust people. We don't trust people because the people that we thought we could trust, our parents, our caretakers, our family, our friends, showed themselves to be untrustworthy or unable to meet my needs. And so now I feel like that's the way it's going to be with everybody. And then I try to go into a relationship with someone with all of these challenges. When we have families where the sin and the problem with adultery and infidelity is what it does to the children and the family. That, there's a divorce because of infidelity, then the kids feel like the parents don't love them and they carry that around with them, right? Daddy has multiple kids. Mama could have different fathers. Nobody's exempt from doing wrong and causing problems. But people, when we look at things about how we do things and how we interact with each other, even when we lie on someone or when we talk about them, when we talk about bullying, they have consequences in a person's life, in the bully's life. How many times have we heard stories about people who were in adulthood still dealing with issues from being bullied? And the bully was a person who had a real problem. He had a problem with himself or herself. So she projected in order to move away from her own issues with herself, her own lack of, or his own lack of confidence, they started to pick on somebody else. So people, we must let go of the lies. What is the root of my feeling unworthy, unlovable, just not worthy of love, because we all are. And then recognize that when the people that we see every day don't meet our needs and, have us in a place where we don't feel loved or worthy of love, then it also affects our ability to have a relationship with God. Because if these people I see every day don't love me, then God must not love me. And if these people I see every day treat me like that, then I have the same expectation of God. But God is not like that. His love is unchanging, it's unfailing. I really looked up unfailing. It means never ending. It does, nothing matters. That's that dirty draws kind of love. And the only person we can really get from is from the Lord. That he see all my spots and wrinkles. He see all my foes. He see all of my negative thoughts, because I have them too. And he still loves me. And he still loves you. But he allows you to make choices. And because you make choices, there are going to be some consequences. But his love for you never changes. And so we're looking to people who are imperfect, like you are and like I am, to meet a need that only God can feel. For you to come to the knowledge of how much you are loved. And you can be confident in letting go of those lies and saying to that thought, when the thought says, ooh, you ain't gonna never lose weight. I am beautifully and wonderfully made, no matter what, how much I weigh. I am beautiful. Your nose has such a hump on it. You look like a bird. You like a beak. They got all these things that's saying you just ugly. That's a lie. Can have plastic surgery if you want to. I can change that. But there's sometimes that person who's speaking to you has some issues that can't be changed by surgery or weight loss. But either way it goes, we have to be happy with ourselves. We have to let go of the lies. And we have to, when those lies are being spoken in that battlefield, in the mind where all of these things happen for us, we have to stop thinking it, and we have to correct it with the truth. Correct it. Don't believe it. Don't buy into it. Don't agree with it. Shut it down. Be confident in just who you are right now at this moment. If you get better in some areas, if you get fitter, if you get longer hair, if you have plastic surgery, that's all good. But the core of who you are, what's more important, inner beauty or outer beauty? You got to ask yourself that. And as you think on that, remember, from a medical perspective, this body is dying daily. And you are aging daily, whether you want to or not. And even with plastic surgery, you can see the aging is still going to take place. You just circumventing it for a time. So, this life is a continuum. We were designed to be born and to die. And so why not enjoy the time that we are here rather than trying to delay the inevitable? Because even though I may have wrinkles under my eyes, my skin, we can learn as we get older, our skin changes. There's some visible signs. But when you have inner beauty, people don't look at that. They're not so quick to look at that. You're just beautiful. That's what matters most. And you have it in you. You just have to get to the roots and shed all that tar and all that weight that's holding you down and keeping you from believing that you are beautiful, and you have the right to be confident in that right now, inside and out. And if there are things that that you do because you have set up these defense strategies, when we get hurt, when we develop these fears and we have these distortions that are going on, then we also get defensive. We have strategies to try to keep people from recognizing that we are, fearful. And so what do they look like? People pleasing. In yesterday's broadcast, we talked about dressing to impress people. Or we may become a know-it-all. We may be constantly overachieving or underachieving. We may be a clown, to keep everybody laughing and talk all the time. We may be addicts, right? We may turn to food addictions, drug addictions, cigarette smoking, any kind, compulsive behaviors. We may become compulsive in trying to hold on to relationships, compulsive caretakers, and then we enable people. So, we are so afraid that, we holding on to them, even though we know that they're not good for us, because we so want to be loved. No matter how they're treating us, we're staying with them when we know that they are hurting us even more, making us feel even more unloved. Um, and all these things we do to try to protect ourselves, uh, because we're afraid they're going to leave us and they're not going to love us. When my son was growing up, I had heard many stories about, I work with domestic violence, partnership for domestic violence. And so I got to meet and hear the stories of many women and teenagers who had been in abusive relationships. And they were there because initially that abuser made them feel good. They were impressed by them. And so they were, doing all the right things, loving on them, hugging them, complimenting them, wanting to spend time with them. But then that behavior changed to being aggressive, being controlling, disconnecting you with friends and family, and then physical abuse. And then that cycle of abuse, compliments, abuse, and then makeup, and then we back at the same place. Just this cycle that will continue. Why? Because we're holding on so tight because we feel like if they go, I won't have anybody to love me. And the story that I shared with my son was, I had read a story about a teenager who had had a baby with a young lady, and he became so angry because she was breaking up with him that he took that baby, that was, somewhere between, 9 to 12 months, and hit that, took that baby by its feet and just hit it on the sidewalk until he killed it, and sometimes in relationships people are afraid, they're like, if you don't leave me, nobody's going to have you, all that kind of craziness. But what it says is that I don't have confidence that there's somebody else who will love me. There is somebody else. First and foremost is God. And I may have to figure out why I made this choice that I made. Um, but let's be confident in who we are by letting go of the lies and the distortions that have been fed to us. The media description of what love is. I'm sorry, of what love is, but also um, what is beautiful, in and out. Um, we have, when I look at my final thought is, what came to mind just now was social media, uh, where everybody wants to be the rich and famous and live a life that we see people living on social media. But, you know, even let's look at the rappers, for instance. Most of the rappers that you see, especially those starting out that are having some, they're in the news, they're doing this, they have jewelry, they're uh, having, big fancy cars, a lot of women. Many of that money, all of that stuff is provided for them as a part of their contract. They don't really have a big cash flow, but they have a big, and that's why they could end up broke, because many times all of those things are supplied by the record label. It's not really something they own. It's like it's on loan. And then you're aspiring to that, not knowing that this is the reality of what's going on. Now we have rap people, Cardi B, people who, go to another level with that. But many of the people that we are envying and trying to be like are in that place. Or the social media influencers who, work to, or people who are working to get as many likes. Again, I don't know for sure if you like me or not just because you like my video or you like my post. Now they're monetizing it, people are making money from it. I get that. But, to be envious of what you see and to try to emulate it when you don't really know all of the ins or out, means that you're putting your confidence in the wrong thing. I don't knock anybody's hustle. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it, but know that people can buy likes. So you think, oh, they have 1.79 million likes. Well, sometimes they buy those likes. They post these things. They post only the good of their lives. It doesn't mean that they, even people who have millions of dollars, who are wealthy, still go through some of the same trials and tribulations that we do. So being rich is not going to bring you peace. Being rich doesn't always bring you joy. And no matter who you are, you have to be confident within yourself, whether you in the valley or you on the mountaintop, that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, that you are loved by God, and you deserve love. You deserve to be treated a certain way. So let go of the lies is what we want to be thinking about. Where am I lying? Where have lies distorted the truth about who I really am and what I bring to the table? Because each and every one of us has a purpose. Your purpose may be to take care of these babies that God has given you, to be a good mother to these children. Your purpose may be to discover the cure for cancer. I don't know. Only God knows. But don't let somebody else determine your purpose. Don't let your journey thus far make you think that you don't have purpose and nothing's ever going to be better. That's a lie. It's just that what we call in the church your testimony. You're going to tell people, you're going to share with people what it was like and how you came out into a good place. So let go of the lies as you determine who you are, and let your beauty be inside and out. So I look forward to sharing with you again in your comments when you view the video. I'd love it. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and it's on LinkedIn. So after you watch the video, if you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. So please do so, and I promise to respond. Have a blessed and glorious day, and live life in the spirit. Bye-bye.